Some of the jurors knew what he was talking about. A lot of them didn't. It's a very very older jury. So a few people got it, a few people didn't. It's from the 90s, so it's kind of hard to remember that far back for a lot of them.
Well, let me give it back. For our viewers who don't know, tell us.
C+C Music Factory Make You Go Hmm was in 1990. And it's the things that make you go hmm is the hook. It's pretty much the hook of the song.
The hook in the rap song. Okay, so make you go hmm. So when he was doing that, and there was opening statements, what about the defendant's demeanor in the courtroom, from both the prosecution's opening statement and for the defense opening statement?
Well, for the defendant, melly was very calm, collected. I guess I would say when the prosecution gave some retelling of what was going on, he kind of was annoyed, and you would see him write stuff down on the notes for a little bit. But other than that, he just kept it real calm.
All right. So, are there any celebrities or famous faces in attendance in that courtroom today? Oh, you got a big smile on your face, Bryce and Paul.
Actually, yes. Lil Boosie, the artist from Louisiana, came to support. Him and Melly have a history, and Boosie actually gave him the defense information for his murder case.
Wow. So now we know about that. Now let's get a little bit closer. What about the victim's family? Are they in the court? And if so, have they been reacting to not just seeing Melly in the courtroom, but seeing the opening statements and the testimony?
They've been very inconsolable, I would say, as the trial kicked off, and even just as different testimonies were being given, even in the opening statement from the prosecution. Once the names of the two victims were mentioned, even with them just being called brothers, best friends, or whatnot, the families of the victims would be inconsolable and often have to walk out.
It's always hard for families of the victims if the defendant, no matter who's on trial, whether he's innocent or whether he's guilty. But speaking about the defendant, was his family there? And if they were there, can you tell us about their reaction to day one of the trial, Bryson?
Actually, yes. All his mother, brother, grandparents, all of them were in attendance, and they all were as calm as he was, I would say.
Wow, very interesting, because that must have been something that the attorney must have told them to remain calm no matter what. But while the court is on lunch recess, we know that the prosecution is getting ready for more witnesses. What can we expect after the lunch break?
We'll continue with the third witness, Hector Burton, a retired police officer who was on hand during the evening of the double murder, and who spoke to Bolton, the co-defendant in Melly's case, at the hospital.
Wow. So was that witness, just get my last question before I let you go, was that witness effective for the prosecution, or was it the hook and the rap song that make you go, hmm?
It was definitely the hook of the rap song that made you go, hmm. Like the audio, or we were pretty much just going through the audio right now of him and Bolton's conversation. And he was just trying to recollect after he mentioned that he's dealt with a lot of cases in the last 25 years before he retired. So it made him kind of iffy about what happened as far as what he remembered that night. So the audio just played of him and Bolton having their conversation, and him asking if there was weapons in the car, if there was gun residue on Bolton himself, and just if they had previous beef with anybody, to corroborate with Bolton's story that it was a drive-by.
Very, very interesting. Well, Bryson, thank you for that very effective wrap-up, telling us what's going, and it was not intended to be a pun. I know you're smiling. What's going on in that courtroom? I know you have to get back in, and I know I will be seeing you later this week. Thank you, sir, so very much.
All right, looking forward to it.
And when we come back, we'll be back into that courtroom also and talk about some of the testimony and show you the testimony that is being heard before that jury and my new guests and I will be discussing that. So you have to stay with us here at the Law and Crime Network. Well, welcome back to the Law and Crime Network. As you know, we are covering the case of rapper YNW Melly. Did he kill his best friends, YNW Sack Chaser and YNW Juvie? The prosecution says yes. The defense says no. There's a lot of doubt. Well, the prosecution is presenting their case, and they started off with lead detective Hector Bertrand, so we're going to back into court and listen.
Hector Bertrand Jr.
Your first and last name for the court report.
Hector, E as in boy, Ertrand.
Thank you. Please be seated. Mr. Bertrand, the microphone in front of you only adjusts up or down, not back and forth, all right? See a little too high? All set, ready to go? Count, you may.
Thank you. Good morning. Could you please introduce yourself to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury?
Retired detective, homicide detective, Hector Bertrand, Miramar Police Department.
Congratulations on your retirement. How long have you been retired?
About 2.5 years.
Prior to that, how long did you work for the Miramar Police Department?
28 years.
Can you tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury some of the different hats you wore while employed for the Miramar Police Department currently?
Initially, after graduating the academy, I did a couple years in road patrol. Then there was a position open in Detective Bureau as like a training position that was going to be for 6 months and then go back to road. I never left the Detective Bureau. I did a couple years in juvenile and sex crimes. I did 10 years in undercover narcotics. And then the last 15 years was in homicide.
During the course of your time in the homicide unit, how many cases were you involved in the investigation of?
A lot.
Is there
I couldn't give you a number. A lot.
more than 100?
Yes.
With regards to the homicide unit back in October 26th of 2018, were you employed with the Miramar Police Department then?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell the ladies and gentlemen a little bit about the training and education classes you take while you're preparing yourself as a homicide detective.
I've taken a lot of classes. I couldn't name them all, but anywhere from in the narcotics, surveillance, court, advanced basic homicide, advanced homicide, some forensic classes, crime scene reconstruction, things like that.
So, drawing your attention to October 26th of 2018, did you have an occasion to become involved in a Miramar police case investigation documented under Miramar case number 18-10-06269?
I did.
What was your role?
Initially, I was called out as the primary detective, but we kind of had an agreement within our unit because I was only 2 years away from retiring, that any cases that would get assigned to me, that one of the other detectives would take over it and that I would assist to avoid having to come back. Well, it didn't work out.
So you still come back and testify in all your old cases?
Yes.
Okay. So, Detective, do you live locally still?
No.
I'm not going to ask you. So, going forward, do you remember about what time you got called out?
5 o'clock in the morning.
What types of procedures are in place? How do you get called out?
Typically, it's I would either get a call from the sergeant or I get a call from our dispatcher at the PD. In this case, I got a call from Sergeant Shaw.
Okay. Once you get that phone call, how long do you have before you must respond to the scene?
There's no real set time. It's just, from wherever you're at, you try to, put some clothes on or shower, so, and then prepare to go. So I think it took me like about 45 minutes to get to the scene.
Okay. When you arrived on the scene, who else was there?
Prior to going out to the scene, I actually called Detective Moretti, advised him that I had got called out, And so at that point, so that he could take the lead in the investigation. So when I got there, I got to the hospital. It was the first place I got there. There were some officers there at the scene, at the hospital. I spoke to them, got briefed. Detective Moretti showed up shortly thereafter.
Okay, with regards to individuals that you made contact with that were not law enforcement, do you remember speaking with an individual named Cortland Henry?
I did.
That statement of Mr. Henry, how many times did you speak with him?
I spoke to him twice. Both times were recorded. At some point towards the end of the first one, don't know if I got called out to something else or I just briefly walked away, turned off the recorder. Then I came back, asked a few more questions just to verify location, and wish I recorded that portion, but it was very short, maybe a couple minutes.
So I wanted to go back to set up the geography. You said you worked in Miramar for 28 years.
Yes, ma'am.
And during that time, did you become familiar with the areas of Miramar Parkway, I-75, US 27?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you describe to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury what is the northern boundary between the city of Miramar, your jurisdiction, and Pembroke Pines to the north?
Typically, it's Pembroke Road, what divides Miramar and Pembroke Pines, Pembroke Pines Police Department, Pembroke Pines. But there are sections within the city that kind of encroaches like a block or two into Pembroke Road. That's on like the east side of the city by the turnpike. But other than that, it's Miramar, County Line to the south and Pembroke Road to the north. And then from 441 east all the way out to US 27th, it actually extends out to a little bit further west on US 27, but there's nothing there, so it's US 27.
Okay, so to make sure we're clear on that, if someone is headed westbound on Pembroke Road, on the north side of Pembroke Road, what jurisdiction are they in? Westbound.
Westbound on Pembroke Road?
Yes.
It depends also, again, depending on what side of Pembroke Road. If you're driving westbound, that could be considered Pines.
So then on the south side, the eastbound lanes, what are those typically?
Typically, it's considered Miramar.
Okay. Going all the way out to US 27, is that Pembroke Road border consistent from I-75 west to US 27?
Yes.
So I want to start and show you a couple of maps. I'm going to show you what's been previously shown to Defense Counsel marked as States B. Do you recognize that map?
Yes.
Does that map fairly and accurately
Excuse me.
depict before you show the jury?
Can't show the jury.
Oh, sorry.
Not noted.
I'm sorry.
Does that map fairly and accurately depict the Miramar geography from I-75 through 172nd from Miramar Parkway north to Pembroke Road?
Yes, ma'am.
Your Honor, at this time, the state would request to move States B in as States 2 and publish.
Any objection?
No objection.
It's submitted.
If I may.
You may publish.
Thank you.
States B, mark state.
So Detective Bertrand, this is a small version. I have a bigger version that's identical to make it easier for the jurors to see. Thank you, sir. So a large copy of what's been shown as and admitted as state thief. If you could show our viewer exactly which area is I-75 and Miramar Parkway.
This is I-75, and there's an exit here from Miramar Parkway.
And
Excuse
what,
me, Garrett, one second. Garrett,
Yes, Judge.
can you move the screen back a little bit?
Yeah.
Thank you. Well,
and Detective, could you so kind as to step down so we can use the easel? Sure. Counsel, you need to move to the seat. So if you could show the ladies and gentlemen of the jury, where is I-75 and Miramar Parkway?
Right here.
yes, sir.
What direction does Miramar Parkway travel?
East and west.
Can you point out some of the locations on Miramar Parkway? I'm going to start with Bo Camper's Restaurant.
Okay, Bo Campers is, I believe, right around here.
Okay. You're pointing to an area north of a water feature.
Yes.
What other locations and restaurants are in that area?
There's a Marshall's around here. There's a Home Goods. There's a Chick-fil-A. There's a gas station here in the corner. There's a Benihana's. There's a Home Depot. Anthony's Cold Pizza. There's a bunch of places.
So you said Chick-fil-A and Home Depot. Those are the two I'm going to stick with over here. Okay. Moving along, can you show the ladies and gentlemen what is Southwest 160th Avenue on the map?
This is 160th, which is also Dykes Road.
Does the name change depending on the jurisdiction of which the city or county is in?
I guess, yeah, yes.
And
We know it as South.
Well, I have fabulous guests here, and I know you want to hear from them. You know them very well. Catherine Luzardo is with me again this week. Always a pleasure to have you on, Catherine. And again, Catherine, I'm going to tell our viewers we did not coordinate our colors again. All right, and Dina Dahl also with me. As you know, Dina's a fabulous, fabulous trial attorney. Let me start with you, Dina. This is just some kind of like testimony that, you know, we all have to go through. Here's the maps, here's what happens. But how is this detective doing after those incredibly explosive opening statements we had from the prosecution?
I mean, it's always hard when you're kind of anticipating the trial and, like you said, hearing all the theories of the case, and then you go to perhaps the most dry testimony. It always is dry in the beginning because it's all the foundational evidence. You know, the prosecution has to prove, that somebody died. Here they're proving more of location, which is essential for the jury. But it's dry. There's no way around that. But this is they have to prove it. And honestly, like, this might be not a complicated case, but a little bit. So it's important for the jury to not be complicated about any of the information. So it's good to go slowly.
So, Catherine, the issue of where this happened, now, there's some discrepancy, and I'll use the word some very loosely. The prosecution's essentially saying, hey, wait a second, you shot your friends, you're in the backseat. Then you set up a drive-by shooting so that maybe there's two separate locations, but it's certainly not the location you, Melly, told us. So how does this testimony and this specific placement play into that?
Well, the detective is trying to show the jury exactly where these specific areas are so that they can have an orientation as to how Melly and Henry actually drove the car from wherever that alleged drive-by happened, if it did happen, and then their way towards the hospital. Because in the opening, we heard that there were a lot of things that happened in between the recording studio that they left and to the hospital. So those are being established foundationally right now by that witness. And as Dina mentioned, it's dry right now, but it's also vital for the jury to know.
Yeah, and Catherine mentions Henry, talking about Cortland Henry, someone the defense kind of threw a little shade on. Maybe he he was a suspect, according to the defense, that the prosecution didn't spend enough time on once they focused on Melly, YNW Melly being their suspect. Anyhow, we're going to take a quick break here, and when we come back, my two guests will be with me, and we'll go right back into that Broward County courtroom where the lead detective, now retired, is on the stand. Stay with us. Thank you for coming back to the Law and Crime Network. I'm Linda Kenny Bodenwell. As you know, we are covering the trial of YNW Melly. He is a rapper who is accused of killing two of what he says are his best friends. That would be YNW Sack Chaser and YNW Juvie. The prosecution says he is the murderer of those two beyond a reasonable doubt. Defense says, not so quick, jury. You're going to hear that there's a lot of inconsistencies. You're going to hear there's a lot of voids in the burden of proof, and you are here not to judge proof, but you're here to judge doubt. Well, the prosecution trying to disprove the defense's opening statement immediately and put on the lead detective of this case. He's now retired, but his name is Hector Bertrand. Let's go back into court and listen.
160.
Okay, moving further west, what's the next major intersection that's reflected on this map on the far left on Miramar Parkway?
The next major intersection is going to be over here, which is 172nd. On this side is Silver Lakes Development. Over on this side is the Miramar, the hospital, which is, I believe, here. And then there's a regional park. On this side, there's a Target here, a Winn-Dixie, Pollo Tropical, and liquor store.
Okay, so Pollo Tropical, you indicated, is on Miramar Parkway before 172nd, if you were headed westbound?
It's right around here somewhere. I think this is Target.
Okay. Does 172nd run north and south?
North and south, yes, ma'am.
Okay. Can you show the ladies and gentlemen where is Pembroke Road on this map?
It's right up here, runs, again, east and west. There's no exit off of 75 to Pembroke Road, and goes out.
Okay. So I want to move on to what's been marked as State C for identification purposes. You have an opportunity to look at those maps prior to coming into court today. Don't let the ladies know Jersey.
Yes.
Detective, did those two maps fairly and accurately depict the intersections between 160th and 172nd in the first one, and then 172nd and 184th in the second map?
Yes.
To your knowledge and experience working in the city of Miramar, is it an accurate measurement that it is 1 mile between each of those two intersections?
I know for a fact the one from 160th to 172nd, because I actually measured that when we searched that area. The one from 172nd to 184th sounds about right, but I don't know for a fact.
Without saying exact, does that sound approximately correct in terms of the distance between the two intersections?
Yes.
Here at this time, the state would request a move States C in, as States 3 and published to the jury.
Any objection?
Your Honor, we'd object to the extent that it might indicate that it's a mile when the witness said he cannot attest it.
Can I see the exhibit? Thank you. Anything else?
Yeah.
Objection overruled. It'll be admitted.
State C, or State C degree.
Okay, just to be able to publish the ladies and gentlemen of the jury, slightly larger version of State C. This one is double-sided. Detective Bertrand, if you could indicate on here, you mentioned a Pollo Tropical. Do you point that out to ladies and gentlemen of the jury?
Over here.
Okay, and you said a Chick-fil-A as well?
Chick-fil-A is going to be around here somewhere.
And if you could indicate here what intersection is to the right side where the yellow line starts at Miramar Parkway?
Over here, this is Dykes.
160th?
Miramar Parkway, 160th.
And at the far side, we're at
172nd and Miramar Parkway.
Okay. Going to the second part of States C. We're going to show the Pollo Tropical again, please, if you'd be so kind. Okay. And then the Sunset Lakes and Silver Lakes community you described earlier. Can you show where they are here?
This is going to be Silver Lakes here, and then over here on this side and this side is Sunset Lakes. Although this here is like a shopping center for Sunset Lakes, and there's another development here, I can't remember the name of it, but this here is Sunset Lakes and runs west.
And Sunset Lakes you're indicating is west of 184.
Yes, ma'am.
When you were speaking with Mr. Henry, did he give you an address at what location he was residing?
He did.
Do you recall that address as to where he was living?
It was in Sunset Lakes.
Okay. Is there anything that would refresh your recollection as to exactly what address was given?
In his statement.
Okay. So I'm going to first start, I'm going to show you what's been marked as States D for identification purposes only. Look at that and do not show that to the jury. Does that map fairly and accurately depict Miramar from from State Road, Pembroke Road at the north, south to County Line Road, from I-75 west to the western edge of the Sunset Lakes development?
Yes.
Here at this time, the state would request to move States D in as States 4 and
Any objections?
permission to publish.
No objections.
It'll be admitted.
States D marked states number 4.
And so going to the larger version of States D, if you'd be so kind, Detective. The address of 18521 Southwest 44th Street. Was that address made familiar to you as part of this investigation?
Yes.
Can you indicate where that is on this map?
Well, to get there, you to go Miramar Parkway, and right around here is the entrance to the development, and then you can go in this way. I believe you can also go in through this side here. Over here is where the guard gate is here. I believe there's another guard gate down there somewhere.
So is it fair and accurate to say that this is Southwest 40th Street right here?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And the address of 18521 Southwest 44th Street, is that indicated with the yellow marking on this map?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that a true and accurate depiction of where that address is in the city of Miramar?
Yes.
Your Honor, I would request that when the witness makes indications on the
Speaking
map.
objection. Okay, so Detective, we were talking about the address of the 18521 Southwest 44th Street, as well as the 40th Street entrance for Sunset Lakes.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So we're going to move on from this one. We previously talked about the jurisdictional borders of the city of Miramar going to US 27. I'm showing you what's been previously marked as States E for identification purposes. You can just look at that. Does States E accurately depict Miramar from US 27 to I-75 from north of Pines Boulevard south to County Line Road?
Yes.
Here at this time, the state would request to move States E in as States 5.
Is there any objection?
No objection.
It'll be admitted.
States E marked states number 5.
And so the identical larger version of it here. So Detective Bertrand, if you could show here, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, where is I-75 on this map?
Again, I-75 is here.
And just so it's clear for the record, that's the yellow indication road with the 75
It's
on
going
it?
north and, yeah, north and south.
Okay. And in terms of the Pembroke Road, can you show where that is on this map?
Pembroke Road is this one here. This one's Miramar Parkway, and this is Pines Boulevard.
Are
And the
they-
county line is down here.
And the county line, is that C9 canal down there at the bottom?
Yes.
Is the Pines Boulevard marked on the map accurate?
Yes.
Is Pembroke Road as indicated and marked on the map accurate?
Yes.
Is Miramar Parkway is marked and written on the map accurate?
Yes.
And the bottom of the map with the C9 canal, it's not labeled, but is that an accurate depiction of the southern boundary of Miramar?
Yes.
Going out to US 27, can you describe to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury which roads connect from Miramar to US 27?
The only road that it actually, it looks like over here in Pembroke Road it does, but it doesn't. So the only way you can go to US 27th is you have to actually go into Pines Boulevard and head west, and then this is US 27th, and then when you get there you make a left and you go southbound. Southbound.
Now that we've established some of the jurisdictional boundaries, I want to get back to your investigation in this case. So when you're at the hospital, you indicated you took a recorded statement from an individual by the name of Cortland Henry.
Yes.
Was that statement audio recorded?
Yes.
Was the Miramar Police Department using body-worn camera footage at any point in time in 2018? And if you don't know, please let me know.
I don't know. Detectives didn't wear body cameras. I'm not sure if Road Patrol did or didn't. But the detectives did not, and I believe they still don't.
And so is there any video recording of this statement?
No.
Prior to coming into court today, did you have an opportunity to review that statement?
Yes.
You have permission to approach?
You may.
I'm showing you what's been previously marked as states F for identification purposes only. Do you recognize that disc?
Yes, ma'am.
How do you recognize that disc?
That's my initials and date.
Are those contents fairly and accurately represent the statements that you reported with Cortland Henry on October 26, 2018?
Yes, ma'am.
Any additions or deletions?
No.
Your Honor, at this time, the state would request to move states F into evidence and publish for the jury.
No objection.
It'll be admitted.
States F will be marked states number 6.
Your Honor, at this time, it would be appropriate for the instruction.
We want to
2.6.
publish the one item now, correct?
Yes,
All
Your
right,
Honor.
ladies and gentlemen, regarding the use of these transcripts of recordings, you are about to hear recorded conversations. These recorded conversations are proper evidence, and you may consider them just as any other evidence. You are also being furnished transcripts of the recorded conversations. The recordings are the evidence, and the transcripts are provided to you only as a guide to help you follow as you listen to the recording. The transcripts are not evidence of what was actually said or who said it. If you notice any difference between what you hear on the recordings and what you read in the transcripts, you must rely on what you hear, not what you read. You may publish.
Thank you, Your Honor. Starting with the shorter of the two.
That's the last portion of it.
So then we will go to the 25-page or the 24-page transcript first.
Yes, that's the first.
Okay, so before we hear the video of Cortland Henry, who is a co-defendant in this case and who the defense is kind of pointed to as maybe being the real trigger person, we're going to take a quick break here at the Law and Crime Network, and on the other side, you'll have to wait and see that video. Stay with us. Florida, he is being charged. Who? Well, it is YNW Melly, and he's being charged with a double homicide of people that he claimed were his best friends, Anthony Williams, known as YNW Sack Chaser, and Christopher Thomas Jr., known as YNW Juvie, part of the YNW collaboration. But also part of that collaboration is a co-defendant named Cortland Henry, and Cortland Henry gave a statement that was videoed, a statement to the police. And on the stand right now is the former, now retired, lead detective Hector Bertrand, and he's about to play about 5 minutes of this statement. Why don't we go into court and listen?
Hey, my name is Detective Bertrand. It's Detective Mark Moretti. We're here to talk to you about what happened. Yeah. Listen, you need to be straight up with us and tell us where this happened. Okay? My understanding, you told these officers something, but the evidence doesn't show that it happened there. So where it happened, right off the exit. Got to the left. Okay, tell me what happened. When I was playing music, came up late. I was already getting sleepy. Almost home. You know what I'm saying? And like it's out of nowhere, like gunshot, you know what I'm saying? So then I ducked down, you know what I'm saying? And we called and I almost cut.
Let me back you up a few minutes. Where were you coming from?
I was from Fort Lauderdale.
Fort Lauderdale Studio. Which way did you take?
I took Austin 595 to
75. Then you took 75 south?
That's what, if you come from Fort Lauderdale and you take 595,
yeah.
When you get off, and you get on the expressway, right? So yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
And then we got off in Miramar on the exit. And then when I got past the little 3-turn signal,
yeah.
When I got past that,
which turn signal were you in? Which turn lane were you in?
I was getting off the exit. When I got off the exit, after that light, when we made the right,
yeah.
I came down. You know what I'm saying? I was coming down to the light. You know what I'm saying? And as I'm passing through the light, you know what I'm saying?
What lane?
So, Catherine Lizardo, we are watching YNW Melly, also known as Jamel Demons or Demons, depending on which pronunciation his defense attorney even made, while he's listening to the statement of a co-defendant who will be tried separately, that's Cortland Henry, who the defense kind of alluded to may be the shooter, but didn't say. So, what do you think the jury's doing by watching Melly, and what do you think they're thinking about listening to Cortland Henry?
Well, as they're listening to this recording, they're looking at Melly to see his reactions as to what his co-defendant is talking about and see if there's any emotions that might come up from there. Because both of them were in the car, supposedly during the drive-by, with their two friends who died. So the two main witnesses here are Melly and Henry. So that's why both of their interviews or their statement to the police are critical here. And we hear Henry talking about where they were and the road they took. That's why the investigator earlier was talking about the different locations. It sounded very dry as to when the investigator was testifying as to which of the locations there were, but it was needed to prepare this recorded statement.
Okay, so Dina Dahl, I know we have about a minute left for you. When the prosecution talked, they said on the roads that were given to them by the defendants, or this defendant Melly also, they didn't find evidence of guns, they didn't find evidence of firearms, they didn't find evidence of shell casings. But like if you're a murderer, you're not gonna like drop your gun there and say, "Oh, let me run away," you know, let me leave it there, and you may even pick up your shell casing. So what does this mean for the prosecution?
You know, I mean, that's the thing, is they have evidently some DNA forensics that are going to prove that the shot came from in the back seat where Melly was sitting. And we have not yet heard that testimony. To me, that's kind of the most critical forensic testimony we're going to hear. Of course, all of this location testimony is important as well, but I'm very interested in seeing how concrete that forensic evidence they supposedly have is.
Yeah, I think we have a lot to come. I think both of you are right. Well, I want to thank both of you for being on, listening to this testimony. We just got into some really important testimony. I know earlier was a little dry, but you explained it so well that it's just always a pleasure. And always, we didn't get a chance to talk, but the prosecution ended with the statement on Snapchat that Melly said, "I did it." So both of you, keep watching this trial along with our viewers. What's going to happen now is we are going to take a quick break here at the Law and Crime Network. And when we come back, we will listen to the rest of that recorded statement by Cortland Henry, who's also a co-defendant in a case being tried later. Stay with us.
specific photos, there are plenty that I am agreeing to remove. So while they go through that, and just making sure everything matches up.
Ones that are facing up out of the stack.
On this stuff. You're still going through the rest of them?
Huh?
You're still going through the rest?
I'm going through this. We're sending them out the
Still doing it. Even in the I know I can't walk up to you. I'm kind
Remain seated, come to order. Court is back in session.
Still looking at photos?
Do I?
Just about done.
Did I find any? No.
I'm on the last one. Good time. Thank you. Sorry.
We all ready?
Just one more.
Yeah. Cindy, come on over.
First, we'll have to read all this one. Show
That's what I was thinking.
Oh, Christmas. Yes. I believe it's up to Ms. Brown.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Yes.
Yes, all right.
Everybody's ready. All right, let's bring through.
Jury entering.
Thank you. Please be seated. Let the record reflect the presence of the defendant, Mr. Evans, his counsel, the assistant attorney, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, and all witnesses for training named on the stand. Now, I think we'll approach for lunch. You're still on your direct examination of the witness. If you're ready, we'll proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Okay, good afternoon, Detective Bertrand. We left off listening to the statements that you took.
Yes.
I first want to ask you a question. There's an incessant beeping going on at the beginning of that statement. What was that?
I believe that was medical equipment that we're going to do.
Okay, where were these interviews taking place?
Inside I guess where you put patients, a little room.
So an exam room at the hospital?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. When you were finished speaking with Mr. Henry, and there you discussed in there a part where the officers were walking shoulder to shoulder down Miramar Parkway.
Yes.
So in terms of the time frame of that morning, when is this statement with Mr. Henry taking place?
The statement with Mr. Henry, well, I got at the hospital at 5, and I believe it was at 6:05 when we started the interview.
And so between 5 and 6 a.m., the area between 172 back east to 160th has already been searched.
That was, I believe, prior to me getting there. They had searched from I-75 to Dykes, 160th, and then after I left the hospital, because that's why you hear in the interview us talking about, well, we didn't find anything, because that was the initial area that was searched. And so then after I left the hospital, I met, there's a Walgreens on the northwest corner of Dykes and Miramar Parkway. We met there with about 20 officers or so. There were sergeants, CSAs, road officers, traffic unit, and I told them I wanted to block off Miramar Parkway from 160th all the way to 172, the westbound lanes, and eventually we did that. But prior to that, Detective Moretti and Toyota drove Cortland to the area to get a better, a lot of the interview, that's what we were trying, that was important for us to find a location and jurisdiction.
So is it clear there was actually 2 searches done between I-75 and 172?
Well, actually 3.
Oh, could you
There
explain?
was 175, I-75 to Dykes, 160th. Then I was involved personally from 160th to 172. I assisted in walking that area also with, I think...
That's the 20 officers you were talking about? That
well, the 20 officers to block off everything, and then we had I think a dozen officers, including myself, that actually walked from 160th. This was a second search. And then once we finished that one, they continued from 172 to...
like the 184th we discussed earlier?
Right, exactly.
So going to the search from 160th to 172, you testified previously it's a mile distance.
Yes.
How long did it take to conduct that search of that mile with the 12 officers?
It took us about an hour to do it, because we would stop along the way, we would find a little debris, kind of look at it to see what it was, and that kind of stuff. And essentially we walked shoulder to shoulder, kind of like, you know.
Okay. Did you find any shell casings?
No.
Any glass fragments?
No.
Any projectiles?
No.
Any tire marks?
No.
Any sort of impact or anything on the median that would indicate a crash or recent friction?
No.
The next thing that you did you continue on from 172 to 184 of that mile-long search?
Other officers continued that search.
But were you there personally?
No.
At that point, did you travel to a location in Fort Lauderdale, Florida?
Yes.
And would that be 805 Northeast 4th Avenue?
I believe so, yes.
When you arrived at 805 Northeast 4th Avenue, what was that?
That was a recording studio, kind of like in a warehouse district.
When you went there, did you make contact with the management and the owner-operator of that business?
Detective Taylor did.
Once you went to that studio, did you determine the name to be New Era?
Yes.
After you went to New Era, did you review the surveillance footage that was collected from New Era?
At one point I did.
Okay. I'm now approaching what's been previously marked as Stage G for identification purposes only.
Yes.
Detective Bertrand, is that the studio footage that you recovered from New Era on October 26th of 2018 along with Detective Toyota?
Yes.
Does it fairly and accurately depict the studio footage that you reviewed of October 26th of 2018?
Yes.
At this time, the state requesting the states G in.
No objection?
No objection.
It'll be admitted.
States G will be marked states number 7.
And permission to publish?
Yes, you may publish. Are you looking to have a light skin?
Yes, please, Your Honor. And so, Detective Bertrand, are there a number of clips on this particular footage that you retrieved?
Detective Taylor was the one that downloaded it, but I reviewed it all there also.
Okay. I only at this point am going to publish the exterior from channel 4, 2018, 1026, 02, 17, 41.
Excuse me, you're able to see? Yes? All right.
Detective Bertrand, in your experience in collecting and reviewing surveillance footage over the course of your career as a homicide detective, is the time always accurate?
No.
Is it your recollection that this was off by 1 hour due to not adjusted?
What's the objection?
Foundation.
Sustained. Rephrase.
When this video was recovered, was there a determination made as to how far off the time was from mealtime?
Same objection.
Watch from sidewalk.
Detective Bertrand, when you arrived on scene as Detective Toyota, was there a process in which you determined the time of which the DVR was currently recording at and the difference to the actual time?
I really wasn't involved in that portion of it.
So you wouldn't be the best person to ask
No.
them? Understood. Prior to viewing this footage, had there ever been any mention of a fourth person in the gray Jeep?
No.
After you went to this location, did you travel back to Miramar?
We did.
And where did you go when you went back to Miramar?
We went to the office, which is in the clubhouse of Sunset Lakes.
And at that point, did you obtain surveillance footage from there?
Detective Toyota did.
And we're going to get that in for a different witness, so okay. Moving on to October 28th of 2018. Did you go out of town? I'm sorry, October 27th, 2018. Did you go out of town to help further interviews in this case?
I accompanied Detective Toyota, Moretti, and I believe Toyota and Tomlin.
Okay.
We went to Vero Beach.
Okay. When you went to Vero Beach, did you record those interviews up there?
No.
Do you remember who you spoke with?
I didn't speak to anyone. I stayed. I believe Detective Moretti conducted all the interviews. I stayed outside, and I think in like a kitchen area, kitchen living room area, and I just hung out with the family that was there.
Did you provide your contact information to the family?
I believe I did, yes. I left the card.
Specifically, Nakia Bagley, that individual, did you provide your contact information?
Yes.
Did Ms. Bagley leave without saying what she sent you? On the next day, October 28th, did Ms. Bagley send you text messages?
Let me go back. I'm not sure. I know I left a card. I'm not sure if it was her. I left my card at the house.
Okay. So that was on October 27th?
Yes.
So on October 28th of 2018, without going into what was sent to you, did you receive text messages from the family members of one of the deceased?
Yes.
Okay. Now, going forward on November 2nd of 2018, did you attend a memorial service or funeral in this case?
I did.
Is that common as a homicide detective?
It is.
Why would you do that?
One, show respect, and two, looking for information. Sometimes family members will come and approach us and talk to us. Friends, they'll come that previously they didn't know about us, but now they see us there and they approach us.
Were you able to determine or develop any other leads yourself at that memorial service for
No.
Mr. Williams?
No.
Okay. Moving forward to November 8th of 2018, when the first batch of phone records came in, did you take additional investigative steps?
I accompanied Detective Moretti. He asked me, based on some phone records that he got back, he asked me if I could accompany him to search an area, and we did. We went out to US 27th. Should I go on?
Please, and so
We went to first place we drove to was Holiday Park, which is a trailer park north of Pines Boulevard on the left-hand side of US 27th.
But when you say left hand, do you mean
West side.
the west side? Okay.
West side.
Understand that.
Yeah.
Okay. And describe to ladies and gentlemen of the jury how populated that is.
It's a trailer park, so obviously the construction is not like a house. It's not as fortified or what have you, and it's pretty densely populated with a lot of trailers and stuff like that.
In your statement with Mr. Henry, you alluded to some investigation of the sheriff's office off of I-95 and Hollandale Beach Boulevard.
Yes.
As a detective in the Homicide Bureau, was it common to reach out to other jurisdictions for information?
Yes, I think while we were there, we got some information of...
Objection. Hearsay.
Just hint as to what the information was.
So with regards to the trailer park, did you find any evidence of a shooting that had occurred at that trailer park?
No.
Did any witnesses come forward and speak to you at the trailer park?
No.
Were there any ballistic signs at the trailer park that there had been any shooting?
No, in fact, we kind of concluded that based on the construction of the trailers and stuff like that, and the amount of damaged bullets that were fired at the car, it was our belief that someone would have called if it happened there.
So going forward to November 21st of 2018, did you have the occasion to respond to US 27 and Pembroke Road?
That was a second search that we did.
And when you responded to there, who was present?
Detective Moretti, Detective Toyota, Detective Smith, I believe Detective Tomlin was there, I was there, and there were some canine officers from Fort Lauderdale PD.
When you were there, did you personally collect any evidence?
No.
Who would have done that?
Crime scene.
Why is that?
Because that's their job.
As a homicide detective, do you collect evidence?
Sometimes, but we always have crime scene. If they're there, under certain circumstances, we may, if crime scene wasn't there and we couldn't get them out.
And other than the investigation at US 27 that you were present for and Pembroke Road, did you have any other involvement in this case?
No, going back to the one on the November 8th, we also searched from Pembroke Road. After we left the trailer park, we went back to Pembroke Road, and Detective Moretti and I walked from Pembroke Road all the way to Taft, north on Taft to Taft, and then back. That was about 2 miles. We walked the northbound lanes and then southbound lanes, and we didn't find anything.
And that's again on US 27?
On US 27.
Okay. Nothing further with this signature.
Counsel, is there any cross-examination of this witness?
Yes, briefly, Your Honor. Thank you. Detective Frazier. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
How soon after the car arrived at the hospital would you say you got involved in the investigation?
Well, at 5 o'clock in the morning is when I got called out. I don't have the actual incident report to see when the call was dispatched, but I got to the hospital at 5:47 is when I arrived at the hospital.
Okay. So you got there within an hour?
Yeah, 47 minutes exactly.
Okay.
Of when I got called out.
Okay. And your first assignment or the first task that you undertook was the first substantive task was to interview Mr. Henry, Cortland Henry, say?
Yeah. Well, the first thing was I got briefed by the officers that were there. They told me what they had done to that point, which was the 75 to 160 of search, and they didn't find anything. And then after that is when proceeded to interview.
Okay. So prior to you even discussing the matter with Mr. Cortland Henry for the first time, you had already been told that based on the description of the location of the incident that he provided to law enforcement, they found no evidence.
Right, from I-70, based on what Cortland told the officers. Okay. So, yeah.
So at that time, you had already formed the impression that he was either mistaken or not being candid.
Well, it was, I think through the statement, it was pretty evident that we were trying to narrow down where that location was. You know, because we knew that based on what he initially told the officers, it didn't happen there. So we were trying to narrow it down. That's why you keep hearing us trying to figure out the locations and giving descriptions of landmarks in the area to kind of narrow down where that location was so we can look for evidence.
Right. Because he wasn't giving you exact addresses, he was giving you descriptions and you were trying to decipher from the descriptions that he provided where he might have been described.
Exactly, where the incident happened.
And you knew to this point, at least up to the point where you began your interview with him, that the information, or at least the impressions that law enforcement had formed based upon what he said, were not matching up. Right?
Yes.
As a matter of fact, you start off your interview by telling him, hey, we got a problem. What you told us is not matching up with what we found at the scene.
Right.
And you developed an impression throughout the course of that interview that he wasn't being candid. Did you not?
Well, later on, we did, after we saw that there was a fourth person in the car, when we didn't find any evidence. But that's why we brought him we had officers, 2 detectives bring him to the scene to kind of narrow down the search area. But we did a pretty wide search of the area, just in case he was mistaken.
Sure. But even before you took him out to the scene, you were making, during the process of your, would you define your interaction and your exchange with Mr. Henry as an interview or an interrogation?
It was an interview.
At that time, you didn't perceive him to be a suspect.
No.
You perceived him to be a victim.
Yes.
But you're also of the impression that he was being dishonest with you because, I mean, several times throughout your statement, we can say, hey, you know, there's a problem. You might not want to lie to us, right?
Well, we also had misinformation in reference to an incident that happened on the east side of this city in BSO jurisdiction, which we thought could have been involved, but we later found out it wasn't. So we were mistaken about that. So we were just trying to it was important for us to find the location, one, because of evidence, you know, to look for evidence that would help us with the case. And the second reason was jurisdiction.
Sure. But I mean, you're a seasoned detective, right? You're retired now.
Yes, sir.
So at the time that this transpired, you were, how long were you in the force?
26 years.
And how long had you been a detective?
24 years.
And how long had you been a homicide detective?
About 13.
So it would be fair to say that you had a dual purpose during that interview. You were trying to, or at least three purposes. You were trying to determine the boundaries of jurisdiction, right?
Correct.
You were trying to identify the location that this incident took place.
Yes, sir.
In order to determine boundaries of jurisdiction.
Yes, sir.
And also to further your investigation.
That's correct.
And you're also trying to get a gauge of whether the person to whom you were speaking was involved or not involved. Right?
Yes.
Fair?
Yes.
I mean, the number of times that you implied to him that he might be being dishonest as opposed to merely mistaken. You heard the tape earlier, right? You recall.
I didn't have a preconceived notion as to whether he was being dishonest or not. We had some mistaken information. Maybe that's where you came across that way, that there was an incident on the east side, which we later found out it wasn't. We were just trying to find out the location where it happened.
So when you were telling him stuff like, hey, if it was my friend, I'd really want to help the law enforcement officers out. I mean, don't you want to help your friend? You weren't trying to get him to be candid. You were trying to get him to reach into the depths of his recollection. Is that what you're trying to do?
I would say probably both.
Okay. So you were trying to make an assessment of his credibility throughout the course of this exchange.
Sure.
It's fair, right?
Sure.
Okay. So you, having been a detective for so long, you kind of have a BS meter. You refer to, I don't want to be BS, right?
Yes, sir.
You figure you have a BS meter that's pretty well calibrated.
I guess.
Was it going ding, 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 ding?
Like I said, I was trying to find out where the incident happened.
I understand.
And that was basically it.
I'm trying to ask if your BS meter was starting to be triggered throughout the course of this exchange. That's my question.
I guess.
It was.
Sure.
Okay. So, therefore, you did discern that this man to whom you were speaking, this man that you were interviewing, not interrogating, may be taking you for a ride. Right? That's the ding, ding, ding part that you
I don't know if, like I said, I was at that point, he was a victim. I had no reason to believe otherwise. We were basically trying to narrow down the location. I also understand that being shot at is a traumatic experience based on what he's saying. And that's why we had him, he was transported to the scene to see if we can narrow down the location. I don't know.
Okay. So it would be fair to say that your BS meter did not go off and you did not form the impression that he was being evasive in the manner in which he was answering your questions in the tape that we all just heard.
Well, there are some things that that's why I asked them, trying to gauge whether one of the questions that I asked him was, if you knew who did this, would you tell me? To see his response. So I guess if you want to call that a BS meter or whatever, I'm just trying to gauge if he's being truthful with me, if he's hiding something. We asked him all kinds of questions, whether it was a drug deal, whether he had a beef with someone on 75, all kinds of questions, trying to gauge what could happen. We're also trying to find out why it happened and any other things that he might be leaving out. Sometimes it's, like I said, a shooting is a traumatic thing, and
fair to say, sometimes when you leave out information, it's inadvertent, and sometimes it's deliberate.
correct, and we have to explore that.
And you were trying to figure out which one.
Correct.
But you drew no conclusions throughout the course of the...
Later we did. Later when we didn't find anything, and when we saw the video, we knew that where he told us it happened, it didn't happen.
Okay. Well, you perceived him to be scared because you suggested maybe you're scared. Is that what you had perceived? Or did you perceive him to just be evasive? Which one? Or neither?
I didn't draw a conclusion. I'm trying to ask him questions, again, to have him open up, see what could be him being hesitant, or if he's leaving something out, or just exploring different avenues.
Okay. What about the part when he told you that he didn't have a phone? Did that seem curious to you?
Actually, I didn't even think about it, but now it sounds kind of weird, but I didn't even think about it at the time.
You know anybody without a phone? It's not living under a bridge.
No.
Okay. So at that time, this information, this indication, this loud indication that maybe he is deceiving you, it didn't occur to you now, but upon reflection, you would say it's now occurring to you? Now that I've put the question.
It's easy to Monday morning quarterback when you have a lot of time. We're in the middle. My goal at that time was to find out the location, okay, so that we can look for evidence and jurisdiction. Those were the two main things at that time. And then obviously why, and get some background information as to why it could happen and things like that.
I understand that, and just to further your analogy, I would submit that during the process of this exchange, when somebody tells you, an adult male tells you, I don't have a phone, that being curious is not Monday morning quarterback. That's like missing somebody wide open in the end zone, right?
Sustained.
But it didn't occur to you.
No, really at that time, it wasn't maybe later on it could have been something that Detective Moretti would have considered, but at that time, like I told you, what my priorities were, at least for me.
I noticed you mentioned Detective Moretti. It's not something that would have occurred to you. Was it fair to say that Detective Moretti was the one making the investigative decisions on the case?
I called him to be the lead detective because we had, like I stated earlier, we had an agreement between the homicide detectives. I was 2 years left before it was almost 2 years exactly to the time to retire. So the agreement was that if I got called out, the other guys in the homicide unit would take over the investigation, and that I would assist to avoid exactly me having to come back.
Yeah, and it didn't work.
It didn't work out.
Sorry about that. But you're not suggesting that the fact that you weren't lead meant that if your investigative instincts suggested that certain actions be taken, that you wouldn't suggest that to Moretti. You're not saying that.
Again, I don't know how many times I'm going to explain it. To me, at that point, we were trying to find out the location and try and get some historic and stuff like that.
Okay, no, we're past the phone thing. I'm just saying, as a general concept, your perception of your role vis-a-vis Detective Moretti's wouldn't be because he's the lead that if something occurred to you, you would not convey it to him. You wouldn't keep it to yourself. You'd convey it.
We would discuss.
Okay. So, there came a point later where you took Mr. Cortland Henry, or at least Detective Moretti did, out to the scene. So there would be no mistake as to where he set it out, right?
Detective Moretti and Detective Toyota drove me to the scene.
So now we don't have the possible disconnect between what he's describing and what you perceived. Now he's saying it happened in this location, wherever it is that he took you, right?
You would have to ask Detective Moretti what was discussed. They just told me, I believe it was like in the area of the 163rd and Miramar Parkway, but we started, like I said, on 160th and proceeded westbound.
And law enforcement exerted a lot of effort, searched there, found nothing.
Correct.
Now you know this guy is not telling you the truth, I'm sure, right?
Well, at least that it didn't happen there.
Okay. So at least he's not telling you the truth as to the location of the incident, right?
Correct.
And he told you where he lived. I think early on in the transcript, he told you the address on 44th Street, right?
Yes, sir.
And it occurred to you, of course, that maybe we should go and execute a search warrant on that location just to make sure that we are investigating the possible people that are involved. Did that occur to you at the time?
No, I didn't do a search warrant in that location.
Well, I know you did. I'm asking whether it occurred to you that you should have.
No.
And based upon your being in and around Moretti, you never heard him suggest maybe we go do that.
In order to get a search warrant, you have to have probable cause that a crime was committed there. And at this point, we had no evidence that the crime was committed at the house to get a search warrant.
You need evidence, probable cause to determine that a crime was committed at the house, or you needed probable cause to determine that possible evidence of a crime may be retrieved from that location.
Correct. Yes. Yes to both of those.
Right. And so the gentleman who shows up at the hospital telling lies with two deceased people in his car, it doesn't occur to you that the place he goes directly next might be a source for you to find evidence, right?
We had no evidence that he went to the house.
Where'd he go?
According to him, to the hospital.
Where'd he go after that?
I have no idea.
Was that a bit of concern?
We went to different areas. We went to other places. No, we didn't go there.
Okay. So, I don't mean to be disrespectful, but you now have somebody who has presented himself with two dead bodies, lied to law enforcement, had a long interview where he's taking you around in circles and being evasive, and where he leaves, and you know.
Objection, counsel testifying asked and answered.
Sustained. Rephrase your question.
Okay. Didn't occur to you to search, to track where he may be going and conduct a search warrant because it might be fruitful?
No.
At the time that somebody, at least, determined that Cortland Henry may have been involved in this tragedy, you were already off the case?
I believe I already testified to my involvement in it, so that the items that we covered was my involvement in the case, period.
Okay. So as you recall, at the time that you disengaged from further involvement in the case, Cortland Henry had not yet been identified as a potential suspect. If you recall.
No.
May I have a moment, Your Honor?
Yes?
Thanks, sir. Sir, the location that Cortland Henry identified as his residence was also the place he identified as the residence of the two victims.
Yes, sir.
And that didn't trigger you to think maybe to search that location either?
No.
Okay. Tell me again about Walmart. Do you remember what Cortland Henry told you about Walmart?
He described some incident at Walmart.
And the reason that you were asking him, I think explicitly, was that you were trying to determine whether or not there could be any other people who may have had a motive to engage in the offense.
Correct.
And he told you about an altercation that took place at Walmart.
Yes, sir.
And you know, of course, that Walmart has surveillance tapes.
Yes, sir.
And so, when did you go and retrieve those tapes?
I don't know if Detective Murray did.
If you were making the call, would you have done so?
I don't know if there was no connection to it at the time. I don't know if I would have or would not.
Because you do realize you asked him that very question for that very reason.
He also said that there was nothing to it, that as best as I recall.
He said the beef was squashed.
It was, yes.
So you said, okay, well, and then that settles it.
Well, I didn't say anything. I thought,
And you didn't do it?
I didn't, no.
Okay.
That completes your cross-examination, counsel?
I think so, sir, but I'm being vacant. Remember the reference to a guy named Bentley in the statement? That there was a beef with a guy named Bentley? You don't recall?
No.
Okay. Because we listened to the statement earlier, and that statement said the beef was squashed with Bentley. It didn't say that the beef was squashed with the Walmart people. Right?
I don't recall.
Okay. So you just know that you didn't go and check up on either one.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you. Nothing further.
Counsel, is there any redirect?
Yes, Your Honor. Detective Bertrand, does surveillance footage exist forever?
No.
Is there a retention time frame in which you have to be able to go to whatever location to retrieve it?
In most cases, from a week or two to 30 days max.
Did Mr. Henry give you any more idea of a time frame as to when this Walmart incident happened?
If he did, it's contained. I don't recall at this point.
Counsel asked you a lot about getting a search warrant for the house.
Correct.
Do you have any information whatsoever that would lead you to believe the defendant, Mr. Demons, or Mr. Henry had been at the house?
No,
Where did all the investigation point to they had been?
in the car.
With regards to the recording studio, did you go there and retrieve the evidence from that location of the
Yes.
video? No. And you get a warrant just based on belief,
No,
on a hope and a prayer?
no.
What do you need?
You need probable cause and evidence that the items of the crime are there.
Did you have anything to base that on to go to a judge and ask for a search warrant at that time?
No.
Do you know how long the defendants lived there before they were evicted? If you don't know when they were evicted, that's
I don't recall.
Counsel brought up a lot about Mr. Henry being evasive or not wanting to answer questions. You asked some questions of him. Did you think he was going to try and exact street justice?
Repeat that again, I'm sorry?
Did you think Mr. Henry was going to
Objection
try
to
and...
sustain. I don't know about leading. Sustain the objection.
With regards to the questions you asked of Mr. Henry, did you ask if he was going to take any actions into his own hands?
Yes, ma'am.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
This witness excused?
Yes, Your Honor.
Hold on. Thank you, sir. You may step
Thank
down.
you.
You're excused. Who's your next witness, Counsel?
Morgan Curry?
Outside.
Yes, sir.
Bring in Morgan Curry, please.
Yes, sir.
Are you Morgan Curry? Well, this is our witness stand. We're going to come up here. When you get to the stand, you put your things down, but just remain standing. Thank you. Raise your right hand to be sworn.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you shall give in this case will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
Please state your full legal name for the record.
Morgan Curry,
Please spell your first and last name for the record.
MORGAN,
Thank you. Please have a seat. Madam, that microphone will adjust up or down, not back and forth. Are you ready?
Yes, ma'am.
The counsel may proceed.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Ms. Curry. How are you today?
Good afternoon.
Where do you currently work?
With the Naval Criminal Investigative Service,
What do you do for the Naval Criminal Investigative Service?
I conduct criminal felony investigations, also hold arrest authority.
And in terms of your job description, what area or specialization do you?
Yes, so specialize in cold cases as well as in forensic consulting for the Naval Criminal Investigative Service.
What does that mean to be a forensic consultant for the Naval Criminal Investigative Service?
Yes. So handle any type of forensic expertise or crime scene processing.
Okay, and the crime scene processing that you do, what types of training and experience do you have to do that from NCIS? And not the TV show, just to be clear.
Correct. Received over 210 hours of formal training in crime scene processing and documentation, to also include photography, the collection of evidence, the processing of evidence, collection of DNA, fingerprinting, various other forensic principles. I also received a bachelor's degree prior to NCIS, but specifically within NCIS, just a formal training of documenting and collecting evidence.
Prior to working for NCIS, where were you employed?
With the Miramar Police Department.
How many years were you with the Miramar Police Department?
About 4 years.
And the 4 years that you were there with Miramar, what different job titles did you hold?
Started out as a evidence and property custodian for 2 years, and then was promoted to a crime scene technician for 2 years.
And so what were your job description as an evidence custodian?
Evidence custodian, so collecting as well as storing any type of incoming evidence or property for the department.
Okay, and then once you were promoted to crime scene technician, how did your job description change?
It included the same responsibilities as the evidence and property custodian, but it changed a bit as far as going out to various scenes to collect, process, as well as document or photograph crime scenes.
Did you take classes or trainings?
Yes, I did.
And so what ones did you take at Miramar Police Department?
Specifically at Miramar, completed a 16-week on-the-job training with crime scene documentation, as well as photography and other crime scene principle training. And then also, throughout my employment there within the 2 years, just continued with additional advanced trainings.
Okay. You mentioned that you had a bachelor's degree as well. What was that in?
Also in forensics with a minor in anthropology.
And where did you get that?
Florida Gulf Coast University.
And what year?
2014.
Did you also obtain a master's degree?
Yes, I did.
And in 2017, where did you obtain your master's degree from?
From Nova Southeastern University.
And in what field of study?
Department of Homeland Security was the concentration, but it was the degree was titled National Security Affairs.
With regards to your involvement in this case, on October 26th of 2018, you became involved in the investigation regarding Miramar case number 18-10-020629. And what was your job description for this case?
I was a crime scene technician in this case.
Were you the only crime scene technician?
No, there were several others.
So walk the ladies and gentlemen jury through how you first became involved.
First involvement was contacted by our dispatch unit to respond to assist with processing the scene.
And when you are contacted, are you at home? Are you on shift?
I would have to refer back to my report to specifically know for this case. But normally what happens is either contacted by phone and or if we're on our radio, we're contacted by via radio.
Do you respond directly to the hospital in this case?
Yes, I did.
What is the first thing you do when you get to the hospital?
Meeting with the detective that's on scene, if they're on scene, and or the lead officer that's there to debrief on whatever my assistance is needed for.
Okay, and so what tasks were you assigned once you spoke with the officers and detectives on scene?
I was specifically tasked with photographing and documenting the individuals that were there at the hospital.
When you say the individuals that were there, were they living or deceased?
Deceased.
Did you have any involvement or contact with Cortland Henry? Who would be a living individual?
Not to my knowledge.
Did you have any contact with the defendant in this case, Jamel Demons?
No.
So I'm going to start and go through when you're documenting the scene at the hospital. How do you do that?
First starts with speaking with the detective or officer that's there to kind of brief on the case. Then from there we start with photography. It would also include photographing the scene, photographing the important information and or evidence, documenting via notes, so taking notes as far as address, other pertinent information, and then also if there's collection of evidence, just making sure that you document what evidence you're collecting and transporting it appropriately.
In terms of the number of photographs that you take, I'm not asking you exactly how many, but how is it? Voluminous?
Could you use a different word?
Sure. Do you take a bunch of them?
Yes. Yes.
Is there any particular pattern that you do when you're taking these photographs?
Yes. So we start with overalls. So that just includes an overall depiction of the scene to include, again, addresses or any type of location information that there is there. And then we move into mid-ranges. So if there's any specific mid-ranges that ties what you're focusing on and you're seeing to specific pieces of evidence, you would start there. And then if there is something that needs a close-up photograph, we then move into close-ups.
And you follow that same process, whether you're documenting a person, a place, or a thing?
That is correct.
And in this case, you mentioned collecting evidence. Can you describe to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury what you do when you're collecting a piece of evidence?
When you're collecting a piece of evidence, you would start initially by documenting it with notes, and then from there photographing it. And then if there's photographing it in that same sequence. So overall is where it's located, mid-range, and then close-ups. After that, you would then collect it and bag it appropriately to be transported from the scene.
Okay, so I'm going to go back now. When you're collecting it, what do you do to ensure there's no contamination of the evidence?
So we always make sure to have PPE, personal protection equipment. So that includes things like gloves, masks, face mask if needed, a tie-bed suit, which would be kind of like a coverall suit to protect your clothing and or to protect the specific pieces of evidence to be contaminated with the items on your clothing. And so then from there we would bag them into specific pieces of bagging materials. It could be paper, it could be plastic.
So investigator Curry, is there a reason why paper bags are used or plastic bags are used?
Yes, so we use paper because it is a porous material, meaning a breathable material. Any type of biohazard evidence that you're collecting should be in a porous material, some type of paper material so that it can breathe, so that it's not contaminated with mold or other bacterial items.
So if items are damp or moist or wet in any way, how do you deal with that as a crime scene technician?
Yep, so we do have sterilized dryers. So any type of items that are wet at the time, we do transport them in that paper, that breathable material, and then from there it goes over to our drying chamber to be dried.
After they are dried, do you package them again?
Correct. After they're dried, they are packaged in that paper material.
And with regards to our courtroom presentation, are there occasions in which the clothing is placed between clear plastic to make it easier to handle and deal with in court?
Correct.
Okay. So I'm going to start. I'm going to approach here.
Can we approach very briefly?
Yes.
Sorry.
We need a short recess. Do not discuss the case. Don't form any opinion about the case. Don't allow anyone to discuss the case in your presence. Certainly no research. Just leave your notepads on your chairs. Thank you. Thank you. Let the record reflect the jury stepped down. Counsel remain along with the defendant. Gentlemen, you need your restroom break? No, you're good. All right. Now, just so you know, sometimes when I put the white noise on, when you have a conversation, you're not facing me, I can't hear what you're doing. That's what I just said. Not offending anybody who couldn't hear. Okay. All right. No, it's no problem. We're in recess.
Appreciate it.
At this point, I'm going to publish the exterior from channel 4, 2018, 1026, 0217.
Excuse me, you're able to see? Yes? All right.
Detective Bertrand, in your experience in collecting or reviewing surveillance footage over the course of your career as a homicide detective, is the time always accurate?
No.
Is it your recollection that this was off by 1 hour due to not
Objection.
adjusted?
What's the objection?
Foundation.
Sustained, rephrase.
When this video was recovered, was there a determination made as to how far off the time was from mail time?
Same objection.
Why don't you come sidebar?
Detective Bertrand, when you arrived on scene with Detective Toyota, was there a process in which you determined the time of which the DVR was currently recording it and the difference to the actual time?
I really wasn't involved in that portion of it.
So you wouldn't be the best person to ask
No.
that? Understood. Prior to viewing this footage, had there ever been any mention of a fourth person in the gray Jeep?
No.
After you went to this location, did you travel back to Miramar?
We did.
And where did you go when you went back to Miramar?
We went to the office, which is in the club.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
All
I've
right.
spoken to
You
the
get the, can you say
next-
now?
Yes, sir.
For a second.
Yes, sir.
See what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
Just a little. Can you go back there a little? That's good. Perfect. All right, we're ready. You raise your hand.
Jurors entering.
Thank you. Please be seated. Let the record reflect the presence of our jury. We go over to the defendant, his counsel, the assistant state attorney, and our witness, Ms. Curry, remains on stand. Counsel, if you're ready to continue, you may.
Yes, Your Honor. So, Investigator Curry, you mentioned that the first step you take is documenting through photographs. When you arrived at the scene for this case at 1901 Southwest 172nd Avenue, did you take photographs of the deceased as you found them?
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, permission to approach?
Yes, counsel, you may.
Mr. Curry, I want you to take a look at what's been previously marked as States H for identification purposes. It's a USB and a collection of photographs. Prior to coming into court today, did you have the opportunity to review the contents of that USB and the photographs that are attached?
Yes, I did.
Are the photographs a fair and accurate representation of what is on the USB device?
Yes, it is.
Do those photographs fairly and accurately represent the documentation you did of the two individuals who were deceased on October 26, 2018 as you found them at the hospital?
Yes, it is.
Your Honor, at this time, the state would request from the state's H into evidence as a composite of 45 photos and 1 USB.
Is there any objection?
No objection to the photos. I assume the USB is exactly what the photographs are. We did not look at the USB.
That is correct. That is done so that there is a hard copy and a digital copy for any other record that's necessary.
Based on that representation, no objection.
Thank you. They'll be admitted.
Okay.
States H will be marked as states 8.
I'm sorry, what number?
8, number 8.
And permission to publish, Your Honor?
Are the photographs, they're marked? They're all part of the composite? Is that
They
it's
are.
a composite exhibit?
It's a composite of 45 photos and 1 USB.
Thank you. They're admitted.
So I'm going to start with the first photograph here. What are we looking at in this image?
It's our photo template.
What is its purpose?
It documents what scene we're photographing, provides necessary identifying information, as in who took the photos, date and time, case number, location, and what the incident is in reference to.
Okay. I'm going to start with the folder that is sub-labeled Anthony Williams. Did you have the opportunity to document the deceased who later became known to you as Anthony Williams?
Yes, I did.
I'm going to start with labeled as image 2. What are we looking at here?
That is the room plate number at the hospital that I responded to.
Was there an officer that was standing outside of this room?
Yes, it was.
Was anyone allowed into this room prior to your arrival for documentation purposes?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay. Next photo, what are we looking at?
That is the photograph of the wristband that was on the deceased.
And the date of birth of January 1st of 1880 and 138 years old. Can you describe to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury what it says on there and what is a trauma bracelet?
I would not know that.
No. Can you describe what it says, what the name was assigned to the individual?
Chocolate, comma, anonymous.
Okay. The second photo, what do you see here?
That is an overall photograph of the deceased.
Why do you take an overall photograph?
It goes back to our initial documentation of how we process each scene. We start with an overall to gather as much information as we can about what we're observing, and then move in to specific areas.
On to the next photograph. What are we looking at here?
Is a close-up of the deceased face.
Okay. Is there items of jewelry that are visible in this photograph?
Yes, it is.
So starting with on the ears, is there jewelry that is in the deceased ear lobes?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Is there, we'll move on to the necklace in a different one. Going on to the next photo, what are we looking at?
Again, another close-up of the deceased face.
At this point, there is now no longer a hospital gown. What happened?
In order for us to fully document as is, we start off with the overalls with the gown on, and then follow behind with documenting the full overall with the body. So we remove the gown with hospital staff members.
The next photo, the necklace and items here. Did you ever collect those?
No, I did not.
What are we looking at in this image?
It appears to be some type of wound.
Do you document all wounds as they appear to you?
Yes, we do.
Do you have any background in medical training or Are you trained as a medical examiner?
No, I am not.
Moving on to what are we looking at this photograph?
So it's a rearward or supine facing photo of the deceased. Okay. So the back of the head.
Do you do anything to clean up the deceased?
No, we do not.
The plastic bags inside the paper bags, what are those?
So that contain various clothing items and personal belongings to the deceased.
Is this what you're talking about before you get to the drying chamber?
That is correct.
Is this packaging from the hospital or from Miramar?
It's from the hospital.
What are we looking at in this particular image?
Yes, so it's a GSR kit, gunshot residue kit.
And was this performed on Anthony Williams?
Yes, it was.
And now more close-up of this GSR kit.
Correct.
What can you tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury about the red staining that is showing up?
Yes, so the red staining contains various debris as well as the blood that is found on the deceased or on the area that we use to swab or test.
What is the purpose of the gunshot residue testing?
Yes, so the purpose of the test kit is to determine if there is some type of gunshot residue on the specific item, whether it's an individual or a specific piece of evidence that you're testing.
And the specific name of the gunshot residue test that's being done is what?
Friend or foe.
What was the result of this gunshot residue testing?
It's negative. The presence of GSR.
So going now to the images under the subfolder Christopher Thomas, starting with image number 34. What are we looking at here?
So again, a photo of the room number at the hospital.
The next photo that is here, is this an establishing shot?
Yes, it is an overall.
The black box that's put on there for modesty, was that done by you?
No, it's not.
Okay. When you take the photo, how is the bottom?
As is pristine.
Okay. Do you document the same like we discussed with the prior?
Yes. So it starts all over again, doing your overalls, then into the mid-range and close-ups.
Okay. Next photo?
So it's a close-up of the deceased head.
Does anyone assist you in locating areas or wounds, scars, marks, tattoos?
Yes, so if there's other investigators that are there or crime scene technicians that are there, as well as other medical staff, or nurses, or any other individuals that are allowed to be in that area are assisting.
Was there any evidence of medical intervention that was removed from the body?
Not to my knowledge.
On this picture here, what are we looking at?
So another close-up of the deceased face.
What was the purpose of this next photo that we are looking at?
So it is it's a mid-range of the abdomen area or the body area, the upper body area, to show the various puncture wounds as well as projectiles that are protruding out of the skin.
So, does the screen there work if you circle on it? It should be a touch screen. Let's see. So that when you're talking about the protruding projectiles in the skin.
Correct. It could be, and so it would require additional examination, but it could be anything as far as projectiles or metal shrapnel that comes from casings or bullets.
And in terms of, you're not trained as a medical examiner to know what's going on underneath the skin.
Correct.
On to the next image. What are you documenting in this photo?
So the lower extremities of the deceased, as well as the feet, with the several, what we can observe as some type of injuries.
And was there a name assigned to this individual?
Yes, it was.
Okay, and what was the last and first name of this individual that you were documenting?
Tama Tak Christopher.
Okay. What are we looking at in this specific photo?
Yes, so another documentation of the upper body of the deceased as well as various injuries.
Okay. And then this photo?
A close-up an observed injury to the body.
Moving again to the next photo, what area of the body are we looking at here?
This is the chest as well, chest or abdomen area.
And so if you could just circle on the screen or use the pointer to indicate where's the arm versus where's the chest.
So arm and then the chest.
Moving on to the image here, what extremity are we looking at?
So the inner thigh.
And on which leg?
Right.
And again, a close-up of that same wound in the next photo.
Correct.
Going to the photo that we're looking at here, is someone assisting you in moving the body?
Yes, one of the medical staff members.
Okay. And what are you documenting in this photo?
So documenting the rear or the back of the deceased with the observed injuries.
Okay. And Investigator Curry, at the time when you're looking at this individual, have you already seen the Jeep that's outside?
I do not recall.
Okay. So going to next photo, what are we looking at in this one?
So the lower extremities, the rear lower extremities of the deceased.
Here, so I want to make sure it's clear what area have we moved back up to on the body in this photo.
Yes, so the back of the deceased.
Have you done any sort of cleaning or making it easier to see in any way, shape, or form of the body at this point?
No, I have not.
What are we looking at this photo?
So I believe that is the arm, a close-up of the injuries or wounds on the arm.
So I'm just going to go back one. So is that what you call the mid-range shot, and then going forward again, the close-up?
Correct.
Okay. And what are we looking here near the elbow?
Yes, another injury on that same arm.
And then going to this on the thigh. What the last image you talked about on the inner right thigh, where's this defect that we're looking at in comparison to that one?
It's the outer right thigh.
Going to this photo here, what are we looking at here?
So the backside of the deceased.
Okay. And now in this photo?
A close-up of that same backside of the deceased.
Okay. And again, this on the right upper back of the deceased?
Correct.
Next photo, what is this showing?
Some type of injury or defect up under the underarm of the deceased.
The defects, for the purposes of this, is someone holding the victim's arm in an upward position?
Yes.
Okay. Next photograph, what are we looking at?
So belongings, various belongings to the deceased.
Did you do the same GSR testing to Mr. Thomas's hands?
Yes, I did.
And with regards to that, were there any results on that?
No, the results were negative.
Okay. Can you describe to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury how you do the GSR testing on the deceased hands?
Yes. So with the assistance of hospital staff, just have them hold their hands out as best the way that we can. Using that kit, again, donning or putting on PPE, so some type of protective equipment, gloves, or some type of mask. Opening the kit up itself from a sterilized package, using that, it's more like a swab or a cotton padding, to which we rub against the individual's hand or whatever the object that we're testing for GSR. We rub that for about 15 to 30 seconds to collect whatever fluid that we can on that cotton swab. And then from there, there is a chemical that is within that same tubing or that same kit. That chemical is then applied to the cotton swab there. Wait about 5 seconds or so for a reaction. And if there is a presence of GSR, you will see there's a photograph within the kit or some type of depiction within the kit that shows that if blue specks come up, it does have some type of presence for GSR. And if you do not see those blue specks, then there's a negative presence for GSR.
So going forward, I'm going to show you a large bag here that I'm going to approach with so you can view the contents. I'm going to open up the evidence seal on the outside of the bag now. So, and sorry, I don't think we established, prior to today, do you live here locally?
No, I do not.
As part of the Naval Criminal Intelligence Service, where are you stationed?
Virginia.
And if you need gloves, there's 2 different types here. Scissors as well. The items that are in here, you can look at them best you can without taking them out of the packaging. Do those items appear to be the same ones you collected from the victim, Anthony Williams, on October 26th of 2018?
Yes, it is.
So I'm going to start with our defense counsel. Do you wish to approach?
No.
The items have been placed into clear plastic wrapping. Clear, so we're going to so we're going to mark each specific item as item I. What is state item I?
Are you moving them into evidence?
Yes.
They should not be displayed until they're moved into evidence with all due respect.
So,
Objection sustained, so I want to...
Sure. Investigator, just put it behind the TV. Is item I the same or substantially the same condition as when you collected it on October 26th of 2018?
Is there, excuse me, Counsel, the objection pending still up being displayed to the jury. Is there a way you can do this without going?
Here. Put it back to the back.
I'll make it easier. No objection to the clothes coming into evidence.
So with regards to without objection, so statement estimate states I in.
No objection, correct?
No objection.
It will be admitted. States I.
Okay. And so states J.
No objection as regards states J.
No.
No,
sir. It will be admitted.
States I will be marked states number 9.
Number 9?
Number 9. J will be marked states 10.
Thank you.
Okay, so to start with what's previously indicated now as states 8-9, the black pants. Could you please hold those up for the jury? Moving on to state K.
Any objection?
No objection.
States K will be admitted, if that's what you're seeking, Counsel.
Yes, Your Honor.
States K will be marked states 11.
Switch the TV and just do your first vote. You'd be so kind as to tell us and describe to the jury what is your homework right now.
So in my hand is the jean jacket that was seized from the hospital.
And what number is that, Counsel?
States 10, Your Honor.
Thank you.
You'd be so kind as to publish states 11. I'll switch with you. Thank you. Is that how you received the shirt?
No, it was not.
What did you do in terms of processing it or any cuts or anything to the shirt?
So we don't cut anything from the items itself. What we simply do is spread it out, per se, so it's folded, unfolded, so that it can be tried in our dry machine.
Okay. And last but not least, the initial original packaging.
That's correct.
Is that the initial original packaging that those items were placed into?
Yes, that is.
And did that have your name, handwriting, case number, and seal on it?
That is correct.
Okay. So with regards to the items from the victim, Mr. Anthony Williams, what did you do to process those clothing items?
After they were done drying, to document them, once again photographing them in the lab, to document any type of what we could identify as wounds or cuttings or anything that would assist us in documenting the clothing that came from the deceased.
When you are documenting on the outside of these packaging items, are you indicating a photo marker on them?
Yes.
And why do you put the photo marker on there?
So visually it allows some type of visual documentation, so it's easier to see what we're looking at.
Okay. I'm trying
as well as to identify that specific piece.
Trying to defense counsel state L or those. Investigator Crime Training has been previously marked as states L for identification purposes only. Do you recognize the handwriting on that packaging?
Yes, I do.
Do you recognize your seal and Miramar ID number on it?
Yes, I do.
And is that in the same or substantially same condition as when you packaged it in October of 2018?
Yes, it is.
And what is this item?
It is identified as one black sock, one black and gray sock, one black boxer.
And which individual did you take these from?
Anthony Williams.
And at this time, the state would request to state LN.
Any objection?
No objection.
It'll be admitted.
States L will be marked states number 12.
Carrie, if I could ask you to be so kind as to publish these items. There are 3. 2 socks and a pair of
Positive
gloves.
3.
And there are gloves if you're hanging the scissors are right there. If you'd be so kind as to open it.
Do you want me to remove them out of the bag?
Please, if you could hold them up and show the ladies and gentlemen of the jury. So, Investigator Curry, did you collect any of the tennis shoes in this case?
Yes, I did.
With regards to the additional processing that was done on the shoes, did you do that or was that done by another investigator?
To my knowledge, it was done by me.
Okay. So moving on, I want to go to Christopher Thomas as well. Did you collect the evidence from his person?
Yes, I did.
So, please be so kind as to open the large outer packaging.
Your Honor, we have no objection to the Christopher Thomas pledge coming in.
What's the exhibit numbers?
This is the M, N, and O.
Is that correct, counsel? All, as to M, N, and O, there's no objection?
No objection.
Thank you. Counsel, there's multiple exhibits in each one of these?
That they are individually packaged.
So they're not composites. Thank you. M, N, and O will be admitted in the next series. That's your original packaging again?
Correct.
So M will be a white undershirt. That would be 13 if the count is correct.
States 13.
States in is a black Ranger things jacket. States in. Thank you.
N will be marked states 14.
And states O are some blue jeans.
States O will be marked states 15.
Detective Curry, if you could be so, I'm sorry, Investigator Curry, if you'd be so kind as to, on states 13, the t-shirt, show the ladies and gentlemen of the jury the defects that you documented.
So here, 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 and here as well.
What's been admitted as states 14, the black Stranger Things jacket. You could do the same on the back of that.
Here, here, here.
Okay. Thank you. And investigators are now approaching what was been previously marked as states P and shown to defense counsel. Do you recognize that?
Yes, I do.
What is that?
Additional clothing collected from the scene from Christopher Thomas.
And are these items still in the original packaging?
Yes, it is.
Is your seal still intact with your name, ID number?
Yes, it is.
No objection.
Here at this time, the state requesting states P in. States
No objection, so they'll be admitted. How many items are in there, Counsel?
It's 2 black socks and 1 boxers.
They'll be admitted.
Thank you.
You can come over as composite, is that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
States P will be marked as a composite of 3 items.
And so once you collect the clothes, you indicated that you document them via photographs.
That is correct.
So I'm going to approach now what's been previously shown to defense counsel and has been marked as states composite H of 1 USD and photographs for you to review. I'm going to show you the USB first. Investigator Curry, do you recognize that USB drive?
Yes, I do.
How do you recognize that USB drive?
It has my initials on the back.
And is that fairly and accurately depict the photos that you took when processing and documenting the clothing and shoes of the victims in this case?
Yes, it is.
And the photographs here, are they fairly and accurately depict the same photographs that are on that USB drive?
Yes, it does.
Here at this time, the state is requesting of states composite Q in.
Any objection?
No objection. Again, on the same representation that we have not looked at the USB, but as long as the state represents that it's nothing but those photographs, we have no objection.
That's the state's representation?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. No
States
objection.
Q will be marked as states 17.
They'll be admitted. Thank you.
And permission to publish, Your Honor?
Yes. How many photographs you said?
That I can tell you in just a moment. Investigator Curry, if you have the clothing, why is it important to document it at the time of collection?
To be able to document how they were received, as we weren't the individuals that collected the clothing from the deceased.
So on photograph number 1 under Anthony Williams. It has a G down here at the bottom of the photograph. Why is there a G?
It depicts the item letter that's assigned to the items.
Do you go through and assign a letter to each item that you're looking at?
Yes, each item that's collected receives a letter.
So going through on item G, and I believe there are 50 photographs in order to answer your prior question. Why do you take photographs of each side of these shoes?
To accurately depict the entire item from various angles.
Okay. Again on item G. Moving on to item H. What, in terms of, is that the same that's been previously admitted into evidence? The black pants that we looked at first?
Yes, it is.
The contents of the pockets, why do you photograph it as such?
To be able to document what items are within the pockets because they may not be visible
Okay.
as they are.
And now what are we looking at on item H? What view?
So the back side or the rear side of the jeans.
So this is still marked as item number, or letter H.
Yes.
What items were found inside item H?
These were the items that were derived from the black jeans.
Okay. Were those items collected and cataloged?
Yes.
Okay. With regards to the amount of currency that you're seeing right here, how much is that?
$97.
Showing counsel, it's been previously marked as states R. Investigator Curry, do you recognize this item?
Yes, I do.
It's been marked as states R for identification purposes. What is that?
It's a currency bag filled with the currency from the item H that was identified.
And is it in the same, potentially same condition as being collected it on the day of processing?
Yes, it is.
Is it sealed with your name and ID still?
Yes, it is.
Is it verified by another individual as to the amount of the currency?
Yes, it is.
Here at this time, the state would request move states R in.
Is there any objection?
No, sir.
It'll be admitted. Next series, what is that?
States R will be marked states 18.
Thank you.
On to what's been labeled here as states your Miramar item I, previously admitted into evidence, the boxers and the 2 socks.
That is correct.
Is this how you found them?
Yes.
Do you do any of the cutting of them when you receive them?
No, I do not.
Do you know who does?
Generally medical staff.
What's item J?
Picture of the jean jacket that was provided by medical staff of the deceased or from the deceased.
With regards to this next photo of item J, there is an arrow indicating a circular area. Are you able to tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury if that is or is not a distressed portion of the jacket or is some sort of bullet defect?
Based on my experience in training, it appears to be something similar to a bullet hole.
Okay. With regards to the arrows, is that where you're putting those on there?
That is correct.
Moving on to the back of item J, is that how it looked when you collected it?
That is correct.
Based on your training and experience as a crime scene investigator, does the appearance of blood change over time as it's stored in evidence?
That is correct.
That's still the same jacket that we have in evidence?
That is correct.
Again, item J with the 2 arrows that you have on there?
That is correct.
Those 2 areas of interest that you identified?
Yes.
This is a close-up of the one item J defect. What can you tell about this particular item that makes you based on your training experience, say that it's a bullet hole?
Just based on the size, the distress in the jeans, or I'm sorry, in the clothing, and the diameter of the specific defect.
So going on to the black shirt that's been placed in evidence.
That is correct.
That's item K as you documented it. And the little letter K that you put on each of these photos. Why do you put it on the photos?
Because it's a close-up, just to be able to identify that this particular close-up pertains to the overall item K.
Okay. Now looking at the other side of that same t-shirt.
Correct.
Again, how can you tell, or what based on your training experience will tell you that this is a bullet defect?
Based on the perforation inside the clothing itself, to include the diameter of the defect as well.
Okay. Turn this back in to the clerk. So with regards to Christopher Thomas's clothing, did you recover money and currency from his clothing?
I would have to have my memory refreshed.
Okay. If I may approach what's been previously marked as State S after showing it to defense counsel?
Yes, counsel.
Investigator Curran, I'm showing it's been previously marked as States S for identification purposes only. Do you recognize your seal, your ID number, and the date of October 29th of 2018?
That is correct.
On the front of it, do you document the individual from which this item's clothing was collected, as well as the amount?
Correct.
Does looking at that refresh your recollection as to whether or not you collected currency from Christopher Thomas?
Yes, it does.
Did you collect currency from Christopher Thomas?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Is that fairly and accurately depict the currency as in the same or substantially the same conditions when you collected on October 29th, 2019?
That is correct.
You're at this time the state would request to move States S in.
No objection.
No objection.
It'll be admitted.
States S will be marked States 19.
States T for identification purposes. Are those the sneakers that we just used in those photographs?
Yes.
Do they in the same or potentially same condition?
Yes.
You're at this time the state requesting to move States T in.
Any objection?
No objection.
T will be admitted in the next series, counsel.
States T will be marked States 20.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Investigator Fair, would you be so kind as to open this and publish it for the jury?
It's number 20.
20. And Investigator Curry, those New Balance shoes, where were they collected from?
It shows that they were collected from the hospital.
With regards to the other items that were collected from the victims, did you collect any suspect narcotics?
Not to my knowledge.
In terms of that was October 29th of 2018, that was all the investigative work we did on that date.
Correct.
So I'm going to go forward to November 21st of 2018. What was your role in the investigation on that day?
On the 21st, can I have my report or some type of refresher?
Yes, if it would help to refer to your report, I will show defense counsel. Okay. And so if you would just refer to it silently to yourself, and once your memory is refreshed.
Yeah.
Thank you. So on November 21st of 2018, what was your role in this investigation?
Responded to US 27 to document a additional scene that was believed to be some type of supplement to the initial call out for this case.
When you arrived on scene at the US 27, who else was there?
Several other detectives, law enforcement personnel, to include Miramar Police Department detectives and other crime scene investigators.
And with regards to those crime scene investigators, what was your specific role?
To assist in documenting and collecting any evidence that was observed on the scene.
Did you document and collect evidence there?
Yes, I did.
Okay. In terms of, we're going to start with the photographs. Did you take photographs at that scene?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Showing what's been previously marked as states V for identification. Investigator Curry, do you recognize that USB?
Yes, I do.
Do you recognize the photos that are attached to it?
Yes, I do.
How do you recognize those?
It has my information on there, my badge number, Miramar Police Department badge number, and it's also in my name.
Did you have an opportunity to review the contents of that USB and those photographs before coming to court today?
Yes, I did.
Do they fairly and accurately depict the evidence and your processing and documenting on November 21st of 2018?
Yes, it does.
Here at this time, the state would request to move states V into evidence and permission to publish.
Any objection?
No objection, based with the same proviso. The USB we have not seen. If those are copies of the photographs, I have no objection.
State?
They are the same, Your Honor.
No objection.
There'll be admitted evidence.
States B will be marked States 21.
You may publish.
Thank you, Your Honor. Starting with the first image.
So the photo template, the initial photo that is taken with photograph in the scene.
And is this still under the same 18-10-06269 case number?
Correct.
And what date, again, was this done on?
November 21st, 2018.
The next photo, what are you showing here?
A location or establishing shot of where the scene is.
What direction are you facing in this photograph?
I believe it's going to be east to west. I'm sorry, south to north.
Hold on, just 1 second. So you said you were facing east in this direction, west, and US 27 would be behind you?
Bear with me. Yes, that is correct, east to west.
So for the purpose of further on pictures, the power lines that we see on the right side, that's the south side of the road?
That is correct.
And there are no power lines on the north side of the road?
That is correct.
Okay. You indicated that there were other investigators on scene as well?
That is correct.
Is this some of the canine officers you were discussing?
Correct.
So again, looking in an eastern direction, but now focusing on the south side of the road. Can you describe to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury some of the yellow and orange markers and what they're there for?
Yes. So the yellow and orange markers are there to help depict items of evidence that can't necessarily be seen as they are maybe covered by the shrubs or the grass.
Okay. So moving on, what direction are you facing in this photograph here?
Facing towards the west.
And so at the end of this street here, what road is this?
On the end there is US 27.
Okay. The items that we see here, the flags, do they correspond with a photo marker or are they indicating something else?
So they may be corresponding with they have a photo marker next to it, but they depict the actual pieces of evidence.
So going on to this next photo, again with the power lines looking at the south side of the street. How many items did you indicate with photo markers on the south side of the street?
7.
And so on the north side of the street, how many items did you indicate with photo markers?
3.
Do they continue in sequential order?
Yes, they do.
1 through 7 is on the south side, 8, 9, and 10 on the north side.
Correct.
Again, showing 8, 9, and 10 on the north. So I'm going to go back to item number 1, back on the south side. Can you describe what we're looking at in this photo here with photo marker number 1?
Yes. So the shell casing, spent casing, that is it.
Okay. That's that particular item?
That is correct.
Was this item collected?
Yes, it was.
Why do you take multiple photographs from different angles of these items?
Just to get an overall depiction of the specific item and then also accounting for lighting or better visibility of the item.
And the glass appearing object underneath the casing, did you collect any of that specific glass right there?
I do not believe we did.
Why not?
I think after discussing with the investigators, did not believe that it was in reference or pertaining to the case item.
Okay. Did it have any characteristics of auto glass?
Objection beyond the scope
If she knows.
of her expertise.
Thank you. First, establish that she may know something about this.
So, Investigator Curry, and part of your training in crime scene, is it determining what evidence may be something that would be collect?
Yes, it is.
In terms of the facts of the case, is that something that you're familiar with and you familiarize yourself with to know what types of evidence may exist?
Correct.
For glass and glassware, do you have any training in identifying potential sources of glass or other items that may be of evidence you're done?
Yes, I do.
With regards to the glass in the Jeep that was found at the hospital, had you had the opportunity to view that Jeep prior to November 21st of 2018?
Yes, I have.
The glass that was in the Jeep, was that consistent Was the glass there in this photo marker number 1?
No, it was not.
Moving on to photo marker number 2. What are we looking at in this particular image?
So the glass fragments are in the glass.
Going now to photo marker number 2, the next image. Can you describe to ladies and gentlemen how you're taking this photo?
So it is considered a close-up photograph of the glass fragments. It is at 90 degrees directly over the glass that's on the ground.
Moving on to photo marker number 3. What was significant with photo marker number 3?
I would have to, are you able to zoom in? Is there another photograph? Or if I can refer to my report?
You can refer to your report. Would that help in refreshing your recollection as to photo number 3?
Yes, it would.
Okay. Council, do you need to see the report? Same report?
Same report, I have it, thank you.
Okay. And draw your attention to the third photo number 3.
Gotcha.
In reviewing that, is your memory now sufficiently refreshed?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so in this photograph here, what are we looking at?
Glass fragments.
And could you kind of circle it on the screen so it's clear to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury what we're... Those look different than the last glass fragments
Yes, they are.
we were looking at. How are they different so it's clear on the record?
It appears to be a tint or a darker color.
Moving on to photo markers, and so for this is the establishing shot for which 4 photo markers?
4, 5, 6, and 7.
Okay. Going to the close-up of photo marker number 4. What was the important item of evidence in this photo?
Spent casing.
Okay. There's a scale on each photo marker. Why is that?
We're able to document the size of the specific item on the picture or that we're photographing.
And are all of these items later on collected?
Yes, they are.
Going on to photo marker number 5. I'm going to start with the item to the left here. What is that?
Spent casing.
Okay. Moving over to the right of photo marker number 5. What is that?
A spent casing.
Did you collect both of those 2 spent casings?
That is correct.
Okay. And in terms of another view of these 2 casings on number 5, is that what we're looking at here?
That is correct.
Moving on to photo marker number 6. What? I'm going to move into the closer up one for photo marker number 6. I'm going to start to the one to the left. What is that?
Spent casing.
Okay. Is that the same one that was next to photo marker number 5?
Not to my knowledge.
And to the right, photo marker number 6.
It's another spent casing.
Going on to photo marker number 7. What are we looking at in photo marker number 7?
Spent casing.
Were all of these spent casings of the same caliber when you collected them?
Yes, they were.
Okay. Again, last photo here of number 7.
A spent casing.
Moving on to the north side of the street on 8, 9, and 10. What did you collect at photo marker number 8?
Glass fragments.
Is that a view of those glass fragments?
Yes, it is.
Moving on to photo marker number 9. What did you collect at this location?
Glass fragments.
Moving on to photo marker number 10. What did you collect at this location?
Glass fragments.
We're looking here now at one of the last 2 photos. What is this photo depicting?
Measuring or a detective utilizing a measurement device.
And what is that measurement device?
It measures distance. It's a yardstick or meter stick.
So I'm going to go through now with those items that were collected. Council has been marked as States W.
Judge, can we approach briefly?
Yes.
Do you recognize that item?
Yes, I do.
Is it in the same or substantially same condition as when you recovered it on November 21st of 2018?
That is correct.
What does that item consist of?
The glass fragments, as all of the glass fragments that were obtained from the scene.
Are there 5 samples of glass fragments that are in that container?
That is correct.
And that you recognize your seal and ID number as
Objection,
signing on
lady.
that.
Sustained, don't leave.
With regards to that, is there anything else on there that was not on there when you last sealed it?
Yes, there is.
The yellow sticker here, do you recognize that?
No, I do not.
Here at this time, the state would request to move states W in.
That objection?
Yes. Credit. She doesn't recognize the seal on that particular item.
Anything else?
Incorrect statement as to that. It's theirs.
Excuse me, anything else, Mr. Adelson?
No, sir.
Objection's overruled. It'll be admitted.
States W, we will mark states 22.
Moving on to what's been marked as states X for identification purposes. Showing counsel.
What number?
Okay, Investigator Curry, I'm now showing you what's been previously marked as states X for identification purposes. Do you recognize those items?
Yes, I do.
How do you recognize them?
My writing on the packaging as well as my name and ID number, my ID number at the time.
And are they in the same or substantially same condition as when you collected them on November 21st of 2018?
That is correct.
Are they sealed?
Yes, they are sealed.
Your Honor, at this time, the state will request to move state X in.
Is there any objection?
No objection.
It'll be admitted.
States X will be marked states 23.
So, Investigator Curry, on states 22 and 23, did you photograph those items?
Yes, I did.
So I'm showing counsel what's been previously marked and reviewed as states composite Y, a USB, and 9 pages of photographs.
Just make the same representation.
Of course. Investigator Curry, I'm showing you now what's been previously marked as states composite Y for identification purposes only. Do you recognize that USB and those 9 pages of photographs?
Yes, I do.
Do they fairly and accurately represent the documentation that you did of states 22 and 23 that is now in evidence?
Yes.
Now, at this time, the state requesting move states Y in.
Any objection?
No objection with the same proviso. The USB is the same as the photographs.
And that's the
correct.
representation?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. It'll be admitted.
Okay.
States Y will be marked states 24. So close. 1 USB composite and 9 photos.
So starting with what's labeled as image 76, if you could just briefly describe to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury the case number that's on there as well as the number marker.
Yes. So the case number identifies, it's in reference to the same case that these items were collected. In regards to the item number pertains to the photo marker that was in the photographs of the scene.
Prior to photographing and processing these on November 27th of 2018, did you do an MVAC filter?
Yes, I did.
Can you explain to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury what is an MVAC filter?
So an MVAC filter, it's used to collect any type of DNA or any additional information utilizing a test. The MVAC, the MVAC system itself uses a filtered item. So any type of DNA that is collected off of the item that's being tested is filtered and put onto a filter that is then tested and sent off to a lab.
And so, Investigator Curry, do you have training and experience on when it is appropriate to try and collect DNA from items?
That's correct.
In this instance, did you walk the jury through, please, the process of how you did the MVAC filter collection?
with the assistance of additional crime scene technicians, after collecting the item itself, it is then submerged in distilled water. A machine then spins the item. In this case, it was the spent casing. It spins the item. The water then absorbs whatever that DNA or whatever particles are on the item that's within the water. And then after that, that water is then filtered through a kind of like a cotton swab or a cotton ball, and the remnants or whatever DNA or whatever additional items are filtered through that cotton ball and then sent out to the lab to be analyzed.
Can you see the DNA on there with the naked eye?
No.
Do you know if it's successful or not at the time you finish completing the filter?
No, we do not.
No. Going forward back to the photographs, you have a number 1 on here.
That's correct.
What does the number 1 correspond to with regards to the previous photographs you just looked at?
It corresponds to the yellow photo marker that was within the previous photograph.
Do you photograph each casing from all sides and angles?
Yes.
So that's item number 1. 3 photos of that. And now, so if you tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury what item we're looking at now.
Spent casing, identified as photo marker number 4.
With regards to the writing that's on the back of each of these spent casings, were they all consistent with one another?
Yes, they were.
And what type of writing or markings were on each of these casings?
Blazer, 40, S and W.
As a crime scene technician, what is a Blazer 40 S&W mean?
It refers to the caliber of the spent casing as well as the brand.
Okay. Moved on to item number 5 in these photographs.
Spent casing.
Were there more than one item at photo marker number 5?
Yes, there was.
Moving on to photo marker number 6.
Spent casing.
Again, was there more than one spent casing at photo marker number 6?
Yes, there was.
Moving on to photo marker number 7. What are you documenting in these photos?
Spent casing.
Moving on to photo marker number 2. What are you documenting in these photos?
Glass fragments.
Photo marker number 3.
Glass fragments.
Photo marker number 8. Now we're back on the north side of the road. Is my recollection correct on that?
That is correct.
Okay. Again, photo marker number 8.
Glass fragments.
Photo marker number 9.
Glass fragments.
And photo marker number 10.
Glass fragments.
So going forward, after you photographed these, I want to go to your investigation when you were in Margate, Florida, with regards to this case very briefly. Did you assist with a search warrant in Margate, Florida?
Yes, I did.
Did you collect any evidence there?
Yes, I did.
Were any firearms collected?
No.
With regards to that specific location in Margate, do you remember where it was?
Yes.
And where was that?
Don't remember the specific address, but it was near University.
Looking at is there anything that would refresh your recollection as to this specific address?
Referring to my report.
Counsel, we need to?
No, I haven't, thank you.
Okay. And so just read the first paragraph silently to yourself and let me know when your memory has been sufficiently refreshed.
Refresh.
Okay, and so what was the address of that?
5700 Toscana Place, apartment 307.
While you were at that residence, did you make contact with any individuals?
Not to my recollection.
The search warrant and the photographs that were taken at that, you said there was no firearms recovered?
Correct.
Was there a storage unit key that was recovered?
I would have to refer to the report.
If I may, would that refresh your recollection?
Yes.
Okay. Next, we have the sixth paragraph. If you just read that silently yourself.
Thank you.
So was there a storage unit key that was collected?
Yes, there was.
Was there mail collected from that location?
Yes, it was.
The individual that was named on the mail, who was that?
Jamel Demons.
With regards to later on that day, did you then help and assist on the execution of a second search warrant?
Yes, I did.
So that second search warrant at a storage unit location, did you recover any firearms there?
No, we did not.
Just a moment to control this person. So I'm going to show you what's been show counsel. What's been marked as State Z. So I'm showing you what's been previously shown to defense counsel as state and marked for identification as State's Composite Z. Do you recognize those items?
Yes, I do.
How do you recognize those items?
With my handwriting on there, as well as my initials, date, and my Miramar Police Department number on the seal.
And do they are the same or substantially same condition as when you collected them on the October of 2018?
Correct.
Here at this time, the state would request to move States Z in a composite of 3 items.
Is there any objection?
No.
It'll be admitted.
States.
Positive 3. What's the number?
State Z is positive 3 items, and it will be marked States 25.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, 25 you said?
25.
And so I'm going to permission to publish State Z.
You may.
Ms. Gray, if you'd be so kind as to open that and publish those items. And could you please tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury what the items are?
A clear bottle cap, grabber leaf packaging with a black straw inside, and a Florida identification card for Anthony Williams.
And where were those items found?
Found at the hospital, retrieved from the hospital.
The items there, they're in the same condition?
Yes, they are.
With regards to what's been previously marked for identification as States AA, Do you recognize that item?
Yes, sir.
What is that?
A impact filter from the spent casings found at US 27.
And how do you recognize that?
With my markings, my writing, as well as my batch number and the date on seal.
And is that in the same or substantially same condition as when you packaged it and processed it in November of 2018?
Yes.
You're at the send the state requesting of states AA and the states 26.
No objection?
No, no, sir.
It'll be admitted.
States AA marked 26.
So, Investigator Curry, with regards to suspect narcotics, if they are found, are those collected?
Yes, they are.
Did you collect any suspect narcotics in this case?
Not to my recollection.
Is there anything that would refresh your recollection as to that?
Yes, my report.
Okay. If I can approach, I have a copy of the property receipt with him. Sure. Would that help in assisting you?
Yes.
Okay. Can you explain to ladies and gentlemen of the jury what is a property receipt?
Yes. So a property receipt identifies any type of evidence or items that are obtained or collected.
Is that something you document at the time when you were collecting the items?
That is correct.
Looking at that property receipt, are you refreshed as to direction if you collected any suspect narcotics?
That is correct.
Did you collect any suspect narcotics from the person of Christopher Thomas?
Yes, I did.
And what was that?
Cannabis.
Okay. And that item, was it packaged?
Yes, it was.
Do you have the ability to test suspect narcotics at the Miramar Police Department?
Yes, we do.
In terms of, is it analysis for a chemical certainty or is it a presumptive test?
It's a presumptive test.
Additional testing for any such information as to what that substance was, what agency does that to your knowledge?
It's sent out to the BSO lab.
So after you conducted the documentation, all the photographs, how do you preserve those photographs?
They are burned to a disc, whether CD or DVD, and stored in our evidence facility.
After you did that in this case, did that conclude your involvement in this investigation?
Yes.
Okay. No further questions at this time, Your Honor.
Counsel, can I see sidebar, please? Ladies and gentlemen, excuse me one second. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. I just was asking the attorneys approximately cross-examination, so my thought is, based upon conversations I've had with the attorneys, it's probably best we break now. So remember the admonition: do not discuss the case, don't form any opinion about the case, don't allow anyone to discuss the case in your presence, certainly no research about the case. Just leave your notepads on your chairs, Gary will pick those up, and we'll see everybody back. Now we're going to start 15 minutes later, 9:15 tomorrow. All right? Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Have a good night.
You know who to call on that. If you don't, let me know before you leave so we can have that conversation in front of the defense counsel. Thank you.
Anything else to discuss from the state?
No, Your Honor.
From defense?
No, sir.
So just to be clear, on this one item of evidence, I know the defense objected to its admission not to the glass fragments, but to the notation on the envelope.
You can have a seat. You want
identified side
No.
of the glass. I overruled the objection, but it was based on the understanding that it's provisionally going to be entered. Council's not going to show the envelope to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury until, because there's basically, the way I understand the objection, it's an opinion like that this glass came from the side window of the vehicle in question. So that is not going to be shown to the jury unless it's tied up. If it's not tied up, it's going to be redacted.
Of course, Your Honor.
We all straight?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. All right. Thank you all. Appreciate it.
Judge, I have one other request. We cannot get all of our clients' family in the courtroom. I know last year when we spoke about this, we were supposed to have an overflow room possibly, where there would just be a TV in there, and then other people could sit there because we
Well,
want.
respectfully, that was never brought up to me. I'm not aware of any overflow rooms. I do know that the room right behind here is allocated for the news media press. They have that little room in there where they, so they're not here as much in the courtroom. And I guess the photographer is in the other room while the thing is being played. I don't know about it being overflowed into another courtroom. I'm not aware of that. It wasn't brought to my attention beforehand. I don't know what the possibility of that is. I'm more than happy to look into it, but it's not going to happen today.
Okay.
Can we just approach briefly for a moment?